Yeah, hi everyone. Welcome to today's e-learning conversation, and it's great to have Lenva Shearing with us from Hapara, and as usual we've got Blake from McKinnon and myself. And sorry we're starting about 5 minutes late. We've had a few issues getting Blake onto the call. So we love technology, and we love it even more when it works first time. So it's great to have you guys here. So Blake, how's things going for you?
Yeah, good. Just actually came from a curriculum committee meeting here at McKinnon, and it's just really impressive to see just how integrated our Chromebooks have been, across all the curriculums. And we're just looking into, digital textbooks and the book list for next year and all that sort of stuff. So, we're seeing real big uptake with the Chromebooks, and it's been really exciting for teachers. I think they're getting to do things with them that they've been trying to do with their class for a long time, or something they maybe hadn't thought of before. And it's been a good experience.
Yeah, excellent. That's great. It's amazing how fast technology can change things. Hey, I'm just always amazed. So Lenva, it's great to have you here.
Thank you.
I consider Lenva a really good friend. We catch up quite often and bump into each other at conferences and so on, and always super helpful and super resourceful. So it's great to have you on the call, Lenva. How about you introduce yourself and just let people know who you are?
Great, yeah, sure. So hi everyone, my name is Lenva Shearing, and I'm actually work for Hapara. Well, I work for Hapara in New Zealand, in our New Zealand office, but of course Hapara is a global company. Up until June last year, I was a deputy principal at Allard Middle School, so I've got quite a long career in teaching and learning, and been in the management, and of course been a teacher in the classroom. So, this being out of the classroom is new to me, and being out of a school is completely new to me. But anyway, I'm loving what I'm doing.
No, that's great. And real big transition from, I guess, deputy principal and pushing change and seeing what's happening across to being able to see across schools and districts and countries and so on. So it's been a great transition.
Really exciting, really exciting.
Yeah. And to Lenva's testimony, when we were in New Zealand, when you were just saying, you're about to retire and your school board was refusing to accept your resignation, so it's kind of like you're on loan. Are you still on loan to Hapara, or have they
No, I'm not on loan anymore. Yeah, I've cut the tie. Yeah.
No, they let you go. Excellent. No, that's cool. So I guess it'd be really good to just to dig in a little bit and just see what you're seeing from a global perspective. I always like seeing, just hearing stories about what people are seeing about trends that are coming down the line. Maybe exciting things that you're getting to experience and so on. And obviously, getting to work with so many schools from around the world, it'd be great to hear your perspective on that.
Yeah, sure. Yes, this is a real exciting time to be in education. I think this is probably the most exciting time that I can ever remember. This is a time where change is just happening in pockets of enthusiasm and engagement, and it's so exciting to see it happening. I think that probably the big global push at the moment is student empowerment. So students really taking control of what they're doing. Students, setting their own goals. Students finding their own learning pathways. Students, directing their own learning. And I think that is a huge change from what we used to, and it's something that I'm seeing all over the world. Taking off now. So that's something that really in Hapara that we are excited about, and really that we are looking to build tools around.
Yeah, excellent. No, that's really good, and I think it's so true about that whole, students taking control of their learning, which is fantastic. And we should mention that there's a Q&A app running in this Hangout. So if you have any questions that you'd like to beam through live, then by all means, just certainly click on that chat section, and we'll see those questions come up and be able to answer them as we get going today. Blake, have you got any questions you want to ask Lenva before we dive too far into this?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think we just moved to Hapara at McKinnon recently, and for some staff I think it's a little bit confusing and overwhelming as to what exactly it is. So maybe if Lenva, you could just run through the basics of what Teacher Dashboard does, and how it's sort of reaching those goals of that student-driven learning you're talking about, and those type of things.
Yeah, sure, but I am going to say Hapara. So,
Hapara.
so yeah.
Hapara.
Well, no, you
Yeah,
don't have to
aura.
say it. Yeah, exactly, because it is a Maori word, and it's a Maori word that means dawn or daybreak. So, you know, it's good to have that little New Zealand, you know, slice of New Zealand still in that product. So, so yes, I am going to say Hapara, but you're welcome to say Hapara.
That's the Aussie drawl, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. Okay, so what it is, it's a tool whereby teachers can manage their Google Apps. So Google Apps and the Google suite of tools is a fantastic tool for the classroom. We love it. It's great. It does everything we want it to do in collaboration, in feedback, and student communication. But to manage it as a classroom teacher is a nightmare. So just being able to manage those, what the students are doing, being able to see easily their activity on any doc in their drive, being able to see that they are actually on task, being able to give them instant feedback, being able to access their work with a single click anywhere in the tool. This is something that makes life so much easier for teachers, and really it's an intuitive tool and it's quite easy to use. It was actually designed by teachers, so it's a very easy tool to pick up and to learn how to use. And the fact that it just makes life easier for teachers makes it very easy. I mean, we don't have to try and sell it to people. It just makes it easily adoptable because teachers can just see quite clearly that it is going to give them more hours in the day and make life easier for them.
Yeah, for sure. Let's just before we dive too far into Hapara and Teacher Dashboard and so on, I think let's address the release of Google Classroom that was just released last week. So I don't know if it was good luck or good fortune or something that we've managed to have you on the call today. Obviously, we've had this organised for a while. I've been amazed to see the buzz on Google Plus and Twitter and around different communities about Classroom and so on. And I guess there's a few questions out there, and I know you're under NDA for a lot of things, and so you can just answer questions as you're able to. But I think one of the big questions that's been around on Google Plus that I've seen, and I've had 2 emails about it, where just people were asking, has your company been bought out by Google and acquired by Google?
No, the answer is no. No, it hasn't, not in any way whatsoever. No, we're certainly an independent company. We're still, running in exactly the same way as we have, and nothing has changed in our relationship with Google. No.
Yeah. Okay.
And Classroom, it looks like a really interesting tool, and a lot of teachers here are getting very excited about it. And it's interesting to look at its feature set. I think it does stand quite separately to Hapara's. From what I can see, I mean, they haven't released a lot of information out there, but it looks like you'll be sort of dropping assessments into groups and setting up that sort of thing so you can quickly mark off assignments and send out sort of groups of files to kids. But it certainly doesn't have the perspective that Hapara does across all your Google Apps, from sites to Gmail to everything else. So yeah, it's an interesting product. I mean, Google have been very tight-lipped about it. We had Adam from Google out at our school recently talking to us just about how things are going, and he wasn't letting too much off the chain either. So it'll be interesting to see what actually happens with the product and how it goes. But yeah, it looks good. Teachers definitely excited about it.
Yeah, for sure. I'm just looking at a question that Patrick's just put through on Q&A, saying he's a large private school in Southeast Asia. And recently signed up for Google Apps, and so they're considering an LMS and want to know about the differences between the two. And we'll certainly talk about that as we go on today. It's been interesting just watching some of the results. I kind of am torn in 2 different ways. One, I'm just amazed at how the buzz that's created, which is just such a good testimony to how Google do things. You would have thought that someone has just found flight for the first time, the way people are talking about it. It's like this revolutionary new product, which is fantastic.
There are no details. So.
Yeah, that's right. But I'm loving the buzz, right? People, when can we get our hands on it? And people going nuts, and especially in the Google Certified Teacher and Trainer communities, they're all saying we've got to get our hands on this before our teachers do, and they're just begging for it, which is fantastic. But it's also interesting to see some of the concerns people have had for companies like Hapara and Schoolology and so on. Like I saw a post from Jan, the CEO of Hapara, saying things aren't changing. Lenva, are you able to talk a little bit about that at all? Or?
Well, I am under NDA, as you all know, so yeah, what I can say is limited. I can actually talk to you about Hapara's perspective on here, and the announcement about it was not a surprise to us. Actually, we'd known about it for months, and we'd had dialogues with Google about this previous, so nothing was a surprise to us. They haven't actually built it out yet, which is why they can't show anything, and we're under NDA and we can't talk about it either. We do have an instance of it running on our server, so we are familiar with it, and it was given to us by Google, so it's not a secret instance or anything. I think there may be some overlap, but what you see, the thing about Hapara has always been about deep personal interactions between teachers and students, and we're also underway to release lots. We've got lots more to release in this, and this is actually perfect timing for us. So the end of the story is that really Hapara isn't going away. We've got a lot of deep tools that are geared for education and personalised learning for students, and you're going to hear about some of those very soon.
Yeah, for sure. That sounds great. And you guys are looking at, we were just saying before we started the call, a June release for the next update?
Yeah, yep. We've got a June release coming up, yes.
Cool. Yeah, okay. Are you able to talk at all about what's coming up in that June release?
Yeah, sure. So in that June release, I don't think it's any secret. I think we've been quite open about it, but we're looking at the assignment manager part of it. That's probably the biggest focus. Is we want to actually go deeper though into the learning outcomes of students and allow for personalised learning. There'll be lots of elements of choice for teachers to create assignments and models of learning that allow students sort of to show their own mastery in ways that let the student shine. So lots and lots of student choice and student voice involved in that. And there'll be elements of information that sort of allow a teacher or a parent or a student to collaborate and sort of build on their knowledge in a daily way so they can track their progress through that. So yeah, it's around about the assignment manager and with a sort of a whole new look and feel attached to it.
Yeah, okay, great. I mean, that's something that Blake and I always talk about a bit, is the learning analytics and so on. I think that's huge if you can start building that.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, for sure.
It's really interesting. So just to sort of move on more broadly about your product and where it is now with Teacher Dashboard, what's sort of the number one thing that you think teachers really get on board with your product? Like what's the thing that you guys are doing that's your real killer app, so to speak?
I think it's just the easy way in which teachers can easily just see student activity. So you'll know at a glance what your students are doing, where they are, what they're up to, what they need. Okay, it's just a very, very easy way of seeing that. So a teacher can instantly spot where there might be sort of pockets of students who don't understand what they're doing, where the needs are, and can see the ones who are sort of flying off on their own and leave them going.
So more about the monitoring, I guess, being able to see where kids are at and where they're not at as well, which is just as important.
Yeah. Monitoring's not a word I like to use because it kind of suggests a big brother type of thing, but it's about teachers knowing what their students want and need for their next learning stages.
But there is an element of that sort of big brother type of thing in your product, isn't there? I mean, Absolutely. A lot of teachers have said to us, well, hang on, should we be looking into email boxes? Should we be looking into their drive? Should we be seeing their screens on Chromebooks? Or what do you say to that?
Yeah, and I guess, and that's true, there is. So but all of those are optional things. So if the school don't want to go down that direction, they don't have to take that part of it. So all of the little modules are completely optional. But this is a market, and there's an 80% market out there that might want something different. So we like to think that we're catering for the schools who want to be go ahead and sort of 21st century learning and student-driven learning, that we can cater for them. Plus we can cater for that other market where they do want to sort of actually monitor their students and see what is going on. It's not something that we encourage. It's not, we're about using excellent models of teaching practice, and it's not something we encourage. And when we demonstrate our tools, we always demonstrate them in a positive, proactive way. We never ever demonstrate that monitoring side of it. But I do know it goes on. Yes, it does, and it's just how schools use it. Unfortunately, we have no control about what schools do with the tool when they get it.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, I think it's important that when when you're looking at a tool like this, to really think about how is it going to impact the classroom and how can we use it in a positive manner and not sort of a reactive manner.
Absolutely right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's for sure. Maybe I know there's a lot of people watching who haven't necessarily seen Teacher Dashboard yet. Are you able to maybe just share your screen and just show us some of the main features and maybe just talk around, why was Teacher Dashboard created? What sort of problems was it designed to solve and so on?
Okay, sure. Okay, well, I'll tell you why first of all. Well, I sort of alluded to it first. So it was designed by a group of teachers. So the teachers in the Manaia Kalani group sat around a table first of all and said that we are using Google Apps. We love Google Apps, but we really struggle with with knowing, finding our students' work, being able to see what they're doing in the Google Apps. So they sort of talked about what they would like in a perfect world, and that's where Teacher Dashboard got born. So let me share my screen with you, and I'll take you into what it might look like. Just 1 minute. Okay. All right. So what you're looking at here is a demo school inside Teacher Dashboard. So I have come in as a teacher. I'm Teacher George in the school, and these are the classes that I teach. So what the basics of Teacher Dashboard does is allow me to see my student activity. So if I've got students who are creating docs and in their drive, and for those schools who are using Google Apps, when your students create docs in their drive, they need to either share them with you, or they need to put them in a shared folder that you've previously set up for them, or they've set up as well. So that doesn't need to be done anymore. Teacher Dashboard takes care of all of that for the school. So Teacher Dashboard sets up folders in the students' drive, all ready to go. They're done automatically. They just appear instantly. And so all students need to do is to put their docs into folders. They don't need to share them with the teacher, and once they're in the folders, then the teacher can see them. So if I go into room 12 here, where I'm the teacher, and you can see here that this is my class. So here are the folders that I was talking about. So every student in my class has got a reading, a writing, a maths, and an inquiry folder, and this sits in their drive. Now if I show you what that looks like for a student, so here is the student view here. Here's the student's drive, and in the student's drive there are the same reading, maths, reading, writing, inquiry folders there. So those folders that sit in the student's drive have been created by Teacher Dashboard, not created by the student or the teacher, created by Teacher Dashboard, and all the students need to do is to put their documents into these folders or create these documents in the folders. When they do that, the documents are going to be visible here for the teacher. So what this does then for the teacher is the teacher can see an overview of their whole class. So if their whole class was working on a document, writing a story or doing a piece of writing, the teacher can easily see that the student is working away without issue, so they don't have any problems, because Google Docs have auto update, so the teacher can just see every time it's updated. The teacher refreshes the screen and can just see how long ago that was updated. So if it was updated 1 minute or 2 minutes ago, I know that the student is working away, doesn't have an issue. If it was updated 15 minutes ago, then the student has been sitting there looking at that document for 15 minutes without doing anything. That's an alert to me as a teacher that I might need to go and give the student a hand. They're either don't understand what to do, they're struggling with what to get down, or there's somebody is distracting them, poking them in the back or something. So so I need to go and find out what is stopping the student from working and help them get back on track. So I think that's the basic of Teacher Dashboard, is that visibility into the student's activity inside their Google suite of tools. And I've shown you Docs, but it's not only Docs that this is available for, it's any Google app. So whether they're using Docs, sites, blogs, Picasa albums, Google+, any of the Google suite of tools, the teacher has got that visibility into what they're doing, and can keep making sure that they're getting the feedback that they need, and that they're on task and their learning is progressing as it should be.
That's great. It's a really good overview, and I think that's just the jumping off point. There's so much more to it as well. If that's of interest to you as a teacher, you'll definitely like what else they've got. In terms of the Gmail stuff and the site stuff as well. Just touching on that, I noticed you were speaking about, those folders are created not by the teacher or by the student, but by the application itself. How is that done? I mean, does that integrate with certain school administration systems or timetable systems? How does that work?
Well, it could well do. So the folders are determined by the teacher. So every class could have a different set of folders. It's up to the teacher what they have.
Mm-hmm.
However, if you're in a big school of 120 classes, that might be a difficult thing to do. So it just depends on the school. So some schools make a generic set of folders and say that all the classes will have these folders. And so they just set out a generic set. In my old school, that's exactly what we did. So they can do that. Some schools let the teachers choose what they want, and they feed back to the management. And in some schools, especially large high schools, it is done straight from the SMS or the SIS. It's done straight from the management system, where they draw out the class name. So the class name might be French Year 9, and then the folder just becomes French.
And that's what we've done here at McKinnon. And that was one of our issues, being quite a large school. We have hundreds of variations of classes and things. Pulling all those out into a CSV was a little cumbersome for us. We use Edval, and for anyone who's interested, actually, we've written an automated script tool to push Edval into Hapara. So if you're using Edval, just let me know on Google Plus, and we can help you out with that.
Yeah, and there's several ways of doing this. I mean, if you're living in America, it's a lot easier because you've got some third-party clients that can do that for you. We have full integration with PowerSchool, which is the big American student information system. But there is a third party called Clever.com that we use, and Clever will take your data and will assemble it in the way that it's needed for Teacher Dashboard as well. But there is a fee attached to that, of course, for that service. But there are third party applications that can do that. Most schools, however, just do what I know you've written your own, but most schools just sort of extract it as raw data into a CSV, and then use formulas and filters to just format that data into the way it's needed for Teacher Dashboard.
Yeah, we did that initially, and just one thing to sort of note about that is in a large school usually there's a lot of change in enrolments. Things are always evolving, and to keep up with those. So just something to bear in mind. If you're a school looking to go this way, you probably want to get on top of that. If you're a big school, if you're a small school, it's probably more manageable to change it as you.
Exactly. Yeah, we can also put a curl script onto a CSV, so we can use what's called a curl script, and the curl script will automate the update of that. So if you wanted that information to be updated, every night at midnight, we can use a curl script that would do that, and you don't have to manually do that update.
Yeah, right. So Patrick's just asked a question about integration with VLE and FrogLearn. Have either of you guys heard about FrogLearn?
No.
No, I can't say that I have. You can look it up now.
But I guess, it's a learning platform. So I guess it's about that integration. I know that in the admin section you've got SIS integration, and I know you've got a team of people who can answer questions on that and so on. Just looking at another question that's come in from Prem, saying that the students need their own email address to be able to access the Google Drive. So we would certainly say that you would need to deploy Google as a school, and then as part of that, each student would have their own account. You don't have to have email turned on for those students. You can give them Drive without email. But yeah, you'd certainly need each student to have their own individual account.
You need Google Apps for Education.
Yeah. Now, by the way, one of the things we did for a school just recently was got them onto Hapara, and as part of that, they created their Google Apps accounts at the same time, so that was pretty easy. So yeah, all in one go, created their accounts and set up Teacher Dashboard for them. So that was quite handy. Yeah, excellent. So in terms of Google Sites, Lenva, I know when we were first introduced, people were introducing you to me as like Mrs. Sites because you'd been using them. One of the first people to use them. I'd be interested to hear your perspective on sites and why they're such powerful tools.
Okay, and I'm just going to stop sharing my screen here at the moment while I talk, because I might just actually go into my own school or my ex-school during this. Okay, well, I'm probably not so much known as Mrs. Sites, but I am known as Mrs. ePortfolio. Okay. So ePortfolios are my babies, and ePortfolios for learning is something I'm absolutely passionate about. And in my old school, every student had their ePortfolio, and every teacher had their ePortfolio, and they were learning and reflective ePortfolios. We use Google Sites for them, so that's where my sort of introduction to Sites came. Sites I find a very, very easy tool to use. I find it easy to embed anything into Sites. So if you're wanting to use all of the great things that make website's great, so you've got to have media, you can't just have text. So if you want video and audio and animation and all those things, it's very, very easy to put those into Sites. There's lots of scripts written that let you do that, and there's lots of Google tools that are just inbuilt into it as well. So if you're sticking within the Google suite, everything is done at a click of a button. So if you want to put an image in, you just click. If you want to put a movie from YouTube in, it's just a click. As well as that, using things like iframes, it's very easy with a single line of code just to bring in your blogs, to bring in other sites within Sites, and to have everything in the one place. And that was something that I was quite keen on, is having everything in the one place, so the students' learning progress and their process and progress of learning was all in one place. They didn't have to go off to a dozen different places to try and get a handle on what was going on.
Yeah, it's certainly powerful. I mean, I know Blake's school uses ePortfolios quite a bit, and it's certainly one of the things that a lot of schools, I just don't think they've still caught on to the power of having ePortfolios and the ease of using Google Sites. It still seems like one of those things that are just a little bit too, they feel like it's too hard to get their head around or something.
Yeah, I think there is an element of that, but maybe, Lenva, could you speak to how introducing ePortfolios at your school sort of transformed it? I mean, can you talk about the change in the culture or the change in teaching?
Absolutely. Yeah, certainly does. So it's actually the ePortfolio that drives the learning in our school, because our ePortfolios are not those showcase ePortfolios or the final product ePortfolios. They're actually ePortfolios that show a progression of learning. So everything in it is a work in progress.
Okay.
But it's just little snapshots of a learning pathway. So a student might be doing a big inquiry, but just at different checkpoints along that pathway, they've just got little snapshots of what they're doing, what they're learning, little reflections, little interviews, little peer reflections, self-reflections, feedback from different people, and so that builds up to be a bigger picture. So by the student doing this, it makes it really easy for them to sort out in their mind what's important about learning, what they need to do next. They can see where they've come from, they can see where they are, they can see where they need to go, and they find it then very, very easy to articulate that learning, their own learning pathway, and what they need to be able to succeed. And a lot of visitors to my ex-school would say, "Oh, you're lucky, your students are very articulate." But it's not that they were articulate it wasn't an accident. It was a planned thing that they were articulate. They were articulate because they fully understood what they were doing to make themselves successful in their learning.
Yeah, I think they're really powerful, and we see that here at McKinnon with a similar thing. The self-reflection, I think, that goes into it when kids are creating them. They have to start planning things out and looking at how they're taking control of their learning. So
that's right.
It's really important from that point of view. I think that the kids are sort of given their almost rights into it. A lot of teachers, would heavily structure it and things like that. But I think when you allow them to create their own pages and to make their own interactive sort of sites, I think that's when it can take off.
I mean, we start off with a template, and I think that's a good thing, because when you start off day one, minute one, the student doesn't know what to do, and they sort of sit there and it doesn't mean anything. So we start off with a template. By about the end of week 2, nothing looks the same as each other. They've all gone off on their own tangents and structured their own. Yeah.
And how do you get those templates out? Do you push that with Hapara or?
Yep. Yep, we do. Yeah, so we start off with a template designed by the teachers, so the teachers have a consensus for what they want this ePortfolio template to look like, and then we use Hapara to push that out so that someone, because we were a middle school, and in New Zealand these are only 2 years, we only have students for 2 years, so every day is precious, every minute is precious. So on minute 1 of day 1, the students, copy of their template was there waiting in their sites ready to start right off that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
That's great. Just looking at the Q&A app just went nuts over sites. So people are asking, can you comment on sites? People have already answered that and said yes, you can.
Yeah.
You can certainly comment down to the page. One of the things I love about sites is that you have that page level permissions too. So some students can see things and other students can't. I think that's a really good option. Andrew's just asking, what's the difference between sites and Blogger? Can you speak to that?
All right. So a blog is like a journal. So a blog is in time formatted. So the most recent event is at the top, and the oldest event is at the bottom. So it's something over time, whereas a site could be all over the place. So it's just hyperlinks. It's not in any sort of time order. It could be in importance order, or it could be in theme order. So our ones are in inquiry order. So it doesn't matter. You can choose the order of that. Whereas a blog to me is and a blog can be part of a site. That's absolutely fine. But a blog is something that happens over time. So here's the starting point. Here's the next thing, then the next thing, and the next thing, and the next thing.
And I think you got to make a decision about what you want to do with your class. I think with a portfolio, it's more suited to creating a site with a page that's sort of static. That then that page is always there. People can go back to it. They can edit it. They can comment on the page and do things. But blog's very, very snapshot in time. It's very chronological sort of setup.
That's right. Yeah.
One of the issues a couple of schools have is when you're creating a site for your students, generally it has their name in the URL. Do you have any hacks or tricks around how to take their name out?
Yeah, absolutely. So Teacher Dashboard has that hack in there. So there is just a little checkbox that you check that will make that URL anonymous. Yep.
One thing to notice, sorry to mention just about commenting, we're getting a few other comments coming through. Yes, you can comment on sites, but the people who can comment have to be owners of the site. We had this issue with like a site we created here, one of the staff members created here to send home to parents, and they wanted parents to comment. They can't really do that unless they have permissions into the site, so you can't just sort of have anyone commenting on any page in a site. So that can cause a little bit of confusion when they say yes, there is commenting, but it's not quite as straightforward as it may seem.
It's different commenting to blog commenting. So blog commenting, you get comments from any random person anywhere in the world, where sites comment is more. And we would always ask for parent comments as well. So we would tell our students, share it with your parents, give your parents permission, let them come and let them make the comments. So yeah.
What would be your thinking behind that, Lenva? Is that just about getting more of an authentic audience, or?
Yeah, it's getting everyone involved, everyone who's interested in this child involved in their learning, and that's a powerful thing. If parents are really involved, that's so empowering for the student to think, here's all these people who are worried about my learning, who are going to help me, and and make sure that I get there. It's very, very empowering for them.
Yeah.
It's good for parents to get involved. I like that parent portal concept that's built into Teacher Dashboard as well, where because the students go home and the parents say, "What have you learnt?" and standard answer is nothing. I like the fact that a parent can at any time go in and see their students' drive folder and so on.
Yeah.
Do you want to just speak a little bit about that and how that works?
Yeah. So there is a parent portal inside Teacher Dashboard. It is very limited because it sits outside of Google. So the problem with Google is that parents have to have a Gmail address to be able to log in. So this one sits outside of Google, and it's just a parent portal that the parents would have a login ID, which is their own child's Google ID, plus a password to get in. the access that they see is visibility into those teacher dashboard created folders. So those same folders I showed you, the parents can go into those folders. They can access the docs in those folders and they can read them, but it is in a read-only format. So it uses an iframe to bring them through, because the parents are not shared into these docs in any way in Google. So it's only read-only, and that's the only sort of access we can get through enabling Google with APIs to do that. I would like there to be more further access, so I've been pushing for more access into blogs and sites as well through the parent portal, but it's at the moment it's restricted to docs, so that's something for the future.
I might just clarify a couple of these questions. We've got one from Andrew Davis saying, so Google offer both Sites and Blogger for different uses. Now, Google Sites is part of Google Apps, part of its core suite, whereas Blogger is sort of, it's not managed under Google Apps, it's sort of separated, so there's no way to search your domain for Blogger unless you have something like Hapara. So just bear that in mind. Blogger is sort of a separated service and doesn't actually get as much use as Sites, really. I think Sites is far more heavily used and far more flexible. You can have a page with a file attached to it. You can have kids attaching files themselves if they want to. You can have a page that works like a blog with announcements and posts. So just something to bear in mind there. You know, the Sites, I think, are a bit more flexible for the school environment, and as if you tuned into our last hangout, Swan did allude to Sites getting a big overhaul soon. So be interested to see what happens there.
Yeah. Yeah, that's well and truly broken news now. So they're saying they want Sites to be able to compete with other blogging platforms. So that'd be a huge update if they can make that happen.
Yeah, Sites hasn't had much happen to it lately, so a new coat of paint would be good.
Yeah, that'd be great. And I think Blogger, I've seen used quite effectively in a primary school setting where the students blog quite a bit. And I think, high schools generally they seem to flick over to the Google Site model as well. So there's that blended approach. There's horses for courses. But yeah, they're definitely there.
And there are a lot of schools who do ePortfolios and use Blogger just as your ePortfolio platform, and that is highly successful. And I know quite a few schools that do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, no, that's great. So we had a question come in through the Google form a couple of days ago from Lee, just saying, do secondary schools have any issues with using Hapara compared to primary schools? Not exactly sure what that question, maybe they've seen some things, or maybe it's just because there's so many classes, I'm not sure.
The only issues they would have is that usually they're bigger, so it's a little bit more harder to manage the data, as Blake was saying. But no, secondary schools can look exactly like primary schools. In fact, it's probably easier for the secondary school because it's more tailored. So as I said, instead of having room 5, room 23, room 6, you would have French Year 9, Social Studies Year 10, you would have it by subject, and then the subject folders would just be the name of whatever that subject is. And usually they just have one subject folder, so French just has a French subject folder, etc. Because then the student goes to maybe 8 different classes, they're going to have a subject folder for those 8 different classes in their drive. So you wouldn't want each of those subjects to have 5 folders, because that would be a nonsense. The students would end up with 40 or 50 folders in their drive.
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting on that, the size issue, I can probably speak to that as well. We just have it set up by class, and that works really well. The kids just get a list of all their classes, and they just drag the files into those classes. So that works, really well. The main issues that we've had have been around size, trying to get the timetable in, all the changes of enrolments we get, coming in and out every day. So
and the first 5 weeks of school where students change their classes every week,
Yeah, exactly. Change their form groups, their classes, everything.
And that's hard for a secondary school, where a primary school usually has their classes sorted by the end of the year. So day one, the students are more or less in the class they're going to stay in for the whole year. Whereas secondary schools, students can take electives and they could start in a class, say, no, it's not for me, and next week change, and next week change again. So for the first few weeks until the timetables settle down, it can be really difficult testing for them.
Yeah, and I think, Blake, you've got, how many classes would you have? You'd have close to 1,000 classes running across your school?
I think we have actually a little bit more than that. I think it's something around 1,300. It's ridiculous. We have all sorts of instrumental music classes and things across curriculum as well. So for us to manage that by hand would be impossible. We need an automated solution, and that's why we've sort of built our own sync in there. But Hapara do integrate with certain student information systems. Compass, which is what we use, isn't one of those in Edval, but yeah, I believe there are a few there. So definitely check that out, or reach out to Compass. Reach out to Hapara. They're really good at sort of getting back to you and sorting out your issues.
Yeah, no, the support team are really good. That's excellent. So, Lenva, is there anything else you want to share around what you guys are doing, what's coming up, maybe what's on the product pathway? Any other questions?
Oh, I think I covered that earlier. Yeah, no, that.
Yeah.
That's
you don't want to break that NDA and just let us know what classroom's like? Or... You sure?
No. I only just got a new job.
I'll never find you in New Zealand. You'll be right.
That's great. Excellent. So, I mean, if people are interested in getting Teacher Dashboard going at their school, they can certainly contact Lenva, and we'll put your email in there, Lenva, and people can reach out to you and ask their questions and so on. One of the things that our company does too is do some setups for schools and get them going with Teacher Dashboard, so you can certainly reach out and do that for us. One of the things that we're doing with schools just personally is that if schools order Teacher Dashboard, then we just give them an hour's free PD as well. So we're just trying to find ways to always add values into what schools are doing. And so if you guys want that, there's certainly a form that you can fill out, and we'll put that into the email that we send out. By the way, if you're not getting our emails, it's just because you haven't registered. So on this Google Plus page that you're watching the Hangout through, you'll notice that there's a description for the Hangout and there's a registration link in there. When you register, then we send an email, a transcription, show notes, all the links to different products and things that we talk about. And so if you haven't done that, register, and then we can send that email out. But yeah, there'll be a form that you can just put your contact details in, and one of the team will be in contact with you and to get you going with Teacher Dashboard, and you can check it out with that. One of the things we always like to do as we start to wrap up is just mention where we're going to be in the next couple of weeks so that people can connect with us. It's great to connect online, but we always love to connect in person as well. So in the next couple of weeks, I'll kick it off. I'm going to be in Adelaide next week, so fly down on Sunday. And so if anyone's watching in Adelaide and they'd like to catch up, shoot me an email and we can catch up for a coffee or something and have a chat. That'd be great to meet you there. And then the week after that, just in Sydney for a couple of days, trying to help a school just roll out a deployment plan for Google and get going from scratch. So really looking into that BYOD and just trying to put the step-by-step approach together. So pretty keen for that. Also, I probably should mention too, we've got so many people from New Zealand on this call. Obviously, we've Lenva from there, and you guys are just so active. But we're looking at our next tour, speaking tour. We've locked in some dates for Queenstown, for Christchurch, and I think Hamilton. And we're looking at maybe Rotorua and Auckland as well. But if you're watching this and you'd like to host a cluster meeting where we just get together for one day and we talk about Google Apps and some of the new feature releases, link it all back to pedagogy and student engagement, certainly shoot me an email and we'll talk about how we can maybe come to your area and run one of those days. So we're looking at the end of June, so the last 2 weeks in June, being over in New Zealand again and certainly connecting with teachers and students over there. So that'd be great if you wanted to catch up in person while I'm over there as well. Blake, what are you up to?
Well, I'm just bogged down here at McKinnon at the moment. We've got a lot of sort of initiatives happening in classrooms, and we're just really trying to support the teaching and learning as much as we can. A bit of stuff on 3D printing happening, actually. Ben, one of the technicians in our office here, is a big evangelist of that, so some interesting stuff going on there, but yeah, certainly not flying around the world like Mike does with his enviable schedule, but yeah, look, we're just trying to negotiate also next year's Chromebooks. We're looking at all the announcements from Intel, all these new Chromebooks coming, a lot of touch interface stuff, and trying to weigh up, as I mentioned earlier, about textbooks, digital textbooks. If anyone's got any kind help or information on that, I'm definitely would love to hear from you, because at the moment it's a bit of a minefield. All the publishers are doing their own thing, and it's a bit tricky. So yeah, definitely reach out to me for any of those things. And yeah, apart from that, I'll just be in Melbourne, basically. So always here to catch up, or if anyone's in town.
Yeah, that's cool. I bumped into a company at the Australian Independent Schools Conference that try and bring all the publishers together and make things available through apps. So I'll shoot you a link for that after the hangout.
That'd be great. Yeah.
Yeah. So Lenva, where are you at? Where can people bump into you?
Well, if you're in New Zealand, you just missed us. So we've just had the Tech Team Girl Summits in New Zealand. So I've probably met a lot of you during that one. But the next one for me is Queensland. So I'll be up there at Matthew Flinders in Boodarim in Queensland, which is quite a long way from any civilization on a Google map. But I guess I'll find it all right.
Yeah, that'll be good. That's coming up in July, isn't it?
Yeah, in July. So that's the next one for me.
Yeah, about the 10th or something, I think. Yeah, we're looking at whether or not we'll be at that, so that'll be good. Always love catching up with people. I know a few of the guys who are already putting together some presentations, and I was in Townsville. When was I in Townsville? This week. And some of the primary teachers are doing just amazing stuff. They're going to be presenting and showing what they're doing in primary classrooms. So if you're going to that, certainly catch up with that primary stand. Even as high school teachers, you'd just learn so much from these ladies. They're just incredible. The amount of work they're getting out of their students, it's just great.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So yeah, look forward to bumping you up in Queensland where it's nice and warm.
Yeah.
You know nothing about that, Mike. Come on, mate.
Nothing at all.
Freezing down here at the moment.
So, well, that's all right. Life goes on, huh? Excellent. Hey, all right, great. So, guys, if you've got any other questions, what I'd love you to do is just reply to the email that we send out. There's a couple of questions that have just come in on the app. So if you go back to that email that we sent you that said if you've got any questions, fill out the form. Certainly do that. We'll keep our eye on the Google form, and we'll go back and make sure we answer any questions that have come in since that. So I want to appreciate Lenva for giving up her time. Always really busy, but it's great just to hear how things are going for you guys, especially around that sites and blog. Maybe, Blake, we need to run a whole session just on that and get a few people in and put up some examples of some sites and some examples of some blogs and so on. So maybe we can do a real how-to session around that and put some good examples up.
Yeah, absolutely. And Lenva's certainly sparked some interest there, and just hearing about what she's done, in her previous school and everything. It's great. So I just love hearing about those stories. So thank you, Lenva, so much. It was really good.
Yeah, that's great. And I'm just looking at this thing even now. People are just answering each other's questions. So, and Patrick's saying, when are you coming to Malaysia? So,
yes.
Yeah, so send us an email, Patrick, and we can make that sort of thing happen. So, honestly, we're more than happy to help try and get that stuff going.
Mike will fly anyway, won't he?
I'll fly anyway. Not with anyone, but I'll fly anyway. Two separate things. So, that's great. Anyhow, let's wrap this up and go and see our families. But thanks once again for watching. Thanks for giving us your time and your attention today. We really do appreciate it. We love the international community that's building around these conversations. And so keep the communication flowing. We'd love to hear from you. We'll see you in a fortnight's time for our next e-learning conversation.
Bye.
Okay. Bye.